Hello. Today I'm going to talk about some activities for teaching reading, writing, listening, and speaking using literary texts and different genres. In the subject, teaching culture in the EFL classroom. But first, I'm going to talk about the Ecuadorian culture. For this, I choose the literary novel La Emancipada, which is a fragment from Rio Frio, 1863. First thing, I'm going to talk about reading and writing. For a reading activity, I'm going to ask students to identify words related to clothing, places, and sounds in the paragraph. Because this fragment talk about it. For example, here we have the woman wore long, colorful skirts, and the man wore a wool poncho. That's why we have these questions right here. And the next questions is going to talk about what elements of the town square are mentioned in the text, and also how are the people in this scene dressed. After this, the students are going to read the whole fragment, and at the end they're going to do a creative writing. They are going to use their imagination about, and they're going to think about their birthday places, and they are going to write a short paragraph describing how it looks like, describing about the people, how they dressed, how is the sounds, how is the smell. After when they finish with this paragraph, I'm going to create a group of 3, and they are going to compare their description paragraph, and finally they are going to identify the cultural similarities and difference between the creation and this fragment. And after that, I'm going to create, I have activities for listening. And first, for example, I have the reading loud. The teacher is going to read the fragment slow and loud while the students are listening. After this, it's going to be some comprehension questions. For example, what day of the week was the town square filled? What kind of the clothes did woman wear? After these comprehension questions, it's going to be one more time reading the fragment, but in this case, the teacher is going to stop when finish each sentence. So the students can ask some questions or take some notes. For speaking activities, we have a role play in groups of 3. Two students are going to be tourists. One student is going to be a local guide. And then, for example, the local guide is going to describe a town square based on the paragraph. For example, in our town, women wear colorful skirts and you can hear church bells on Sunday. And the tourists are going to ask some questions like, what food can I find there? Or what is the weather like in this place? Things like that. At the end, the teacher is going to do a feedback. The students are going to share their what they say during this role play, and the teacher is going to correct if there is some mistakes in pronunciation or maybe in grammar. Okay. And then for the next, we have the United States of America culture. In this case, I choose a historical novel, which is Gone with the Wind. Also, it's a fragment. And then the activities for reading, it's making connection, the students to identify words relating to tradition, slaves, honor, and changes. And also it's going to be some questions like, what do you think about the way life of slaves is depicted? Do you think it's accurately reflected their reality? And inferencing is the next part. Of course, after these questions, they're going to read the whole fragment, the students, and then the students are going to use the previous knowledge and the new information to make a conclusion about both. Yeah. Then we have synthesizing. The students in this part are going to combine the previous knowledge information and the new information to create new ideas. For this, in this part, they're going to use a connection map. They are going to use a piece of paper, and they are going to be writing down the ideas that they have previous and connecting the new ideas. Yes, and then at the end they are going to write down a paragraph using all of this information that I mentioned before, and are going to answer a question: how can I combine what I learned new with what I learned to things of something new? They are going to do a group discussion about all of this information. The next, and we have the listening. The teacher is going to read the fragment aloud. In this case, the students they are going to grasp the main idea in the first listening. In the second listening, the students are going to look for the details. For example, they have to answer a question like, what happens during the harvest days? Later, they're going to have a group discussion. They're going to compare their responses and reflect on it. Finally, they're going to answer this question: why do you think the people of Tara held on their traditions? And the part of the speaking is going to be a debate. The topic or the question is going to be: is it better to preserve traditions or adapt to changes? The class is going to have is going to be divided in two groups. Group number 1 is going to be in favor. Group number 2 is going to be against. Of course, it's going to be a discussion light to help the debate. And finally, each group is going to reflect and highlight from discussion in each group. Highlight ideas that each group have. Answers. Finally, the whole class is going to answer this question. I think this is a very important question. Is there a possible balance between preserving traditions and embracing change? Okay, and now I'm going to talk about Colombian culture. For this, I choose 100 Años de Soledad. It is a summary by Garcia, 1967. Here is the summary of the reading, and then for the reading, I have to create a storyboard. The students are going to create a storyboard. It is how they're going to create a storyboard. They are going to put the beginning, the middle, and the end, the more important parts or the main ideas in here. For this, they are going to use the strategy, the scanning. So they are going just to look for it right away. After do this, they are going to read the whole summary. And they are going to use the SYBST strategy, which is this one. The students are going to answer these questions. Who is the main character? What does the main character want? What is the problem or conflict? How does the problem get solved? What is the result or outcome? Okay, and then finally, the students using all of this information are going to write it down a different ending. And at the end, each group, we're going to do a group of 4. Each group is going to share their own endings. Okay, and we have a listening activity. A fragment from the beginning of the novel is going to be, in this case, in the first listening, the students are going to take the main idea. In the second listening, they are going to look for specific details like places mentioned, main characters, objects or magical situations that are described, etc. Later, the students are going to draw about the listening, but they are going to draw Macondo. They are going to use their imagination, how it looked like, how they can smell, what they can see, etc. And speaking, it's going to be a discussion in pairs, and they're going to discuss what connection do you think this description have with Colombian culture and traditions. Also, they are going to do a role play, but in this case, they are going to create a dialogue with the characters in the context of the fragment. And at the end, they're going to do the presentation of it. Okay, and this will be the end of the presentation. Thank you for listening.